Hi, Red Rodent here, and I'm looking at a film that Georgi reviewed on theskykid.com way back in the site's early days. Our views and opinions on this movie differ. Well, there's nothing new there, but I'm grateful to Georgi for writing the original review because without it I may not have learned that this film exists. Lamb is a 1986 adaptation of Bernard McClaverty's novel, first published in 1980. That's a book I read in the mid-noughties as part of my English GCSE course, and it stuck in my mind with its themes of hypocrisy and abuse within the Catholic Church, and the growing bond between a young boy and one of his teachers at a church-run reformatory in Ireland. McClaverty, better known for his 1984 film Cowl, wrote the screenplay himself. The narrative and dialogue mirror the book, but seeing it on screen gave the story a very different feel, to this viewer at least. In several ways, this is a piece of cinematic history. It was an early lead for Liam Neeson, who was then nobbut a B-list wannabe, and marks the debut of pre-teen Hugh O'Connor, who is today one of the most respected names both as an actor and director in the Irish film industry. Add to that an original soundtrack by Van Morrison, and this is a piece worth watching for its curiosity value alone. Brother Sebastian, played by an implausibly young Neeson, is a Christian brother who has lost his faith, partly in God but mainly in the church. Teaching at an austere Catholic reformatory for delinquent boys, he is appalled by the regimentation and harsh discipline, and particularly by its principal, Brother Benedict, a priest driven by cynicism and sadism.
Brother Sebastian, this is Mrs. Kane. And this is her son Owen, whose company we're about to have the pleasure of. Not yet shaven and already a scoundrel. But he'll not be that when we send him back to you, Mrs. Kane.
How long will it take?
As long as is necessary. Kill and cure is my method. There may be pain in the curing process, Mrs. Kane, but I'm sure we'll have you back in.
Brother Sebastian feels particular sympathy for 10-year-old Owen Kane, played by a diminutive O'Connor as the picture of vulnerability. By far the smallest boy at the school, he suffers from epilepsy, wets his bed, and is cruelly bullied by his peers.
This place smells like a piss house. Kane? The stain.
Leave him alone, O'Donnell.
But Owen is a tough little kid, from a rough and troubled background. He survives, he smokes and swears like a trooper.
Fuck off!
When Brother Benedict brutally beats Owen for painting graffiti on the school walls, despite knowing that he was not guilty of the offence, it is the last straw for Brother Sebastian.
Anybody who says he loves children doesn't understand them. It's time he learned that discipline is love disguised. And the stick shows we care, you know? But when you do use it, you must use it to hurt.
Following the death of his father, he has been bequeathed a modest inheritance, which Benedict has ordered Sebastian to give to the church, reminding him that, as a priest, he has taken a vow of poverty. Undaunted, Brother Sebastian hatches a plan to leave the Brotherhood and take young Owen with him. As Georgi noted in his original review, there are clear similarities between this film and 1994's Second Best, the relationship between a single surrogate father figure and a 10-year-old boy.
Didn't they warn you of being a substitute parent was like?
I suppose I need help.
Who doesn't?
But whereas Second Best is about a man who fosters a boy with a view to adoption, Lamb is about a confused and vulnerable priest who kidnaps, albeit consensually, a boy in his care, with, as it transpires, tragic results. Much of this film's strength lies in the way that it solicits sympathy for Brother Benedict. His behaviour is reckless, but we can see it as justifiable. It is quickly established that there is nothing inappropriate in the nature of the relationship between the priest and the boy. Brother Sebastian's love is entirely platonic and paternal. He wants nothing but to protect and nurture Owen and help him find happiness. It's only at the end that his level of mental disturbance becomes apparent and his behaviour becomes unforgivable. Then we realise that, as in all the best stories with a twist in their tale, the clues were there all along. The performances are strong across the board. Liam Neeson is as good as we have come to expect for him, and Hugh O'Connor shows the promise well beyond his years that we see fulfilled today. The production and direction are first-rate too, despite this being an unapologetically low-budget affair, and Van the Man's soundtrack is sublime to anyone who appreciates Celtic-inspired music. The problem for this viewer is that McClaverty's story does not adapt too well to the screen. The book can be seen as a kind of literary parable. It is poetically written, crammed with religious symbolism, and the climax comes across as metaphorical rather than literal. I found that seeing it enacted in real life was quite distressing, if not distasteful. But that is the only caveat I have in recommending Lamb, both the film and the book, to anyone who enjoys coming-of-age stories. It must be noted too that much more has come to light since this film's release about the extent and nature of historical abuse, particularly of boys, in the Catholic Church and its institutions. These factors combined may explain why this movie has been virtually airbrushed out of cinematic history, despite its historical importance. In terms of availability, you can find the DVD on Amazon UK, although the wholesale supply is sporadic and used copies are often overpriced. I paid £13 sterling for my brand new copy, so don't get conned. There are also unofficial prints of the movie on YouTube, although the ones I've found are low resolution and no substitute for the digital medium.